And good afternoon. We welcome you back to the south side of Las Vegas. Justin Sweeney along with Pat Coleman. Moments before tip-off of this afternoon's matchup between the number 3 George Fox Bruins, who carry a record of 10-0 after their victory yesterday against the Carthage Lady Reds, against Bethel, who stomps into this game with an overall record of 5-4 after taking care of Millsaps on a Sunday afternoon journey. Just about ready to tip off between George Fox and Bethel here. Good to rejoin you on the 2015 D3Hoops.com Classic as we continue our journey into day 3 of this 4-day tournament. George Fox will be wearing the all-whites today as they face off against Bethel, finishing in second place in the MIAC in 2015. Should be a phenomenal matchup, Pat, between these two teams who both not only made it to the NCAA tournament in 2015, but both teams also return to their rosters a good chunk of what they brought with them to the tournament last year.
Yeah, Justin, and both of these teams really want this game. They came to this tournament with the expectation of seeing high-caliber competition, something that's going to help prepare them for the NCAA tournament. And when we saw both Bethel and George Fox in this field, it's like, this is a natural matchup. Let's make sure this one happens.
Going into this game, you're also compelled to take a look at the different contrasts of styles between these teams. For the George Fox Bruins, now 10-0 coming into the season, you have to gaze and laud the guard-oriented play. A lot of guards that can hit threes, drive, and on the defensive end particularly, lock down whoever it is they're guarding, whether it be in individual matchups or as a whole in the full-court press. Now for the Bethel Ryoals, it's a team you look up front and you marvel at the size that they bring. You'll see Molly O'Toole today, who averages 12.5 points per game with 8 rebounds per game. She'll get some help up front from Rachel Porupski, two players who stand either 6 feet tall or above, and they should figure the Bethel Ryoals do to have the advantage on the boards, where George Fox has been yielding more rebounds per game to their opponents this season.
Yeah, and I think the key in this game, and probably for the rest of the season for the Royals, Justin, is the play of Callie Zimmerman. She is the player who was the number 2 scorer on the team last year. She's been hurt most of the season, played the last game of the first semester versus St. Benedict, played a little bit here in their opener game, and is still trying to round her way back into the lineup. But when she's healthy, they're really a significant force for the Royals in the front court.
Let's introduce the Bethel Ryoals, the designated road team today on this neutral court site game. In the backcourt, we will see Sydney Schultz, the 5'4 senior guard out of Dalton, Minnesota, coming off of a strong performance in that 69-52 victory this past Sunday with 11 points and 2 rebounds. She'll be aided in the backcourt by Hannah Newell, also a senior, a 5'7 guard out of Fridley, Minnesota. Starting at the 3 spot, it'll be number 41, Shani Morse, the 5'9 junior out of Burnsville, Minnesota. Up front, we will see Molly O'Toole playing that power forward position, a 5'11 sophomore out of Plymouth, Minnesota. And rounding out the lineup on the Bethel side will be the 6'2 senior center, Rachel Porupski. Lots of veterans to consider for both sides. On the George Fox end, in the backcourt, making the starts today will be the junior point guard, Kimberly Frost, 5'5 out of Woodinville, Washington, getting her 10th start of the year, and as many games make that 11th start in now 11 games. She'll be joined alongside Nicole Blizzard, who has fully made her recuperation back from an early season foot injury, which saddled her for the first 4 games of the year. Starting at the 3 spot will be Sammy Nalawai as the Bruins employ a 3-guard set to start their lineup. Up front, we'll see Justine Bitter, an All-Northwest Conference first-team selection in 2015, and Caitlin Jameson, who we saw unleashing the shot-blocking fury yesterday with 8 total blocks, a sterling line of 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 blocks yesterday in the victory against Carthage, making the start at center for George Fox. Again, taking a look at your screen, it'll be George Fox wearing the all-whites with the double blue navy piping down the sides. Bethel wearing the dark navies with the gold trim, and we are ready to tip as Justine Bitter and Porupski will jump it up in the air, and the Bruins batting it around. Eventually it heads around into the possession of O'Toole. We are underway, game 3 of 6. Busy day here on day 3 of the D3Hoops.com Classic from the South Point Resort Arena Casino on the south side of Las Vegas Boulevard here in Las Vegas. Swarming defense outside, but before a steal may have occurred, there's going to be a foul first instead against George Fox. First foul of the game will be charged against the senior guard, Sammy Nalawai, who I had a good conversation with earlier about an hour ago prior to this game, catching up with her thoughts on both her George Fox experience as well as her hopes for this team going forward. She's really impressed with the freshmen so far on this team. You'll see many of them making appearances throughout the game. George Fox had 5 different players in double-digit scoring, all ranging in outputs of 13 to 10 points. Here's O'Toole on the move, trying to elude the grasp of Jamison, challenging her, and misses on the short fadeaway. O'Toole having a great game on Sunday in the win against Millsaps with 23 points and 8 rebounds in the effort. Jamison on the drive, and Frost will set up a half-court offense for George Fox. Just underway, nearly a minute into this ball game. Matchup between George Fox, the Northwest Conference first-place team in 2015. Frost keeps it. Bethel, the second-place team in the always powerful Mayak Conference.
So Justin knows a lot about George Fox. George Fox grad, George Fox play-by-play guy for the last 7 years.
You've blown my cover.
Well, it's not impossible to tell, and I'm the Minnesotan on this call, so if he lets me talk, I will occasionally try to talk about Bethel. But O'Toole has been a huge addition for the Royals this year. Transferred from St. Mary's of Minnesota, which is also a conference opponent, and that's been a big lift for a team that was a little depleted in terms of injuries in the early going in the front court.
Sharp drive on the and one gets it for Hannah Newald. She'll be headed to the line. To make matters worse, Pat, I call myself a Green Bay Packers fan, and we know you root for the purple and gold. So a lot of reasons to have friendly banter, and hopefully we can all behave.
I'm in Division III. I have to root for purple.
This is true. A lot of purple bloods was the story of the year in D3 football this year as Frost elects for the three and ties things up, make that a George Fox lead after the three-point play. They left one hanging at the free throw line the other way.
Well, that is a perfect reminder for Bethel right away. You can't go to sleep right away.
Backcourt steal by the Bruins. Nalawai seeking the contact off the feed and steal from Kimberly Frost, who had 4 steals yesterday against Carthage. Turnovers are probably going to be aplenty if George Fox is to pull this one off today against Bethel. Meanwhile, for the Bethel Royals, you're going to want to win the battle on the boards and dominate the scoring inside. You will have the size advantage many a time, even against Caitlin Jamison, who will remain a shot-blocking threat.
Yeah, but you and I were talking before the game about how important it is for Bethel's guards to be able to handle the George Fox press, and their first look at it, they did not do that well.
Meanwhile, Royals respond in kind with a steal of their own and cash in on a long-distance jumper. Newald with all 5 points of the game up to this point. They take a 5-3 lead over undefeated George Fox. Treble in the backcourt momentarily for Kimberly Frost before shuttling away the pass to Blizzard, who fires up the hanging runner, batted around on the miss. Bethel had it for a moment as Newald had her hands on the basketball, but the last touch will be by Sammy Nalawai of George Fox.
Well, there's not a lot of room for teams to breathe in this game, right? It's a very back and forth pressure pace, and with George Fox ratcheting up the pressure, Bethel's really going to have to respond.
George Fox, first time we've seen them employ their full court press tonight with 7:42 and counting in this first quarter. Patiently, the ball arrives in the arms of Newald, and Newald clears as Frost tries to ride her side, but as she dishes across, there stands Justine Benner to take away the pass.
Yeah, stepping into the passing lane is very important.
The setup to Nalawai, left side, wheels it across to Blizzard. Blizzard angling right as Jamison looks for position down low. Benner ponders the delivery and instead enters to the left side to the wing. Nalawai forces up a tough fadeaway mid-range and gets it. We're tied at 5 with 7:13 to go in this first quarter.
Very impressive. Nice job of putting the ball on the floor, dribbling in, and then bringing it in against larger defenders and making something out of it.
Trouble for Newald, but she stands steadfast and is able to wrest away the ball into the arms of her teammate O'Toole outdoors. Perupski. First touch, it seems like, at least, for Bethel, setting up Newald. She's hot from outside. This time it's not going to go down, and the rebound brought in by Blizzard of the Bruins. Quickly across the sideline, left end is Frost. Looking indoors, first touch of the night for Jamison. Immediately double-teamed, but saw adeptly Benner cutting down the lane, and she puts it in the rare diamond route from the sophomore center.
Yeah, perfect little give and go, for lack of a better term.
Coming into this game as the foul coming up on George Fox, their second team foul of this quarter. Caitlin Jamison averaging 1.1 assists per contest. Well, Michael Meek, anything more would be a bonus from her, and he's got to love the heads-up play, the good court vision. Immediately the double team arrived, and immediately she dumped off the pass to a quick-acting Justine Benner down the right side of the elbow.
Yeah, talk about players who have been together, who know the system, who can react, and that was a pretty easy response, even if it's something they don't necessarily always do.
The fouls are piling up quickly in this first quarter for the Bruins. That's the third against newly reported in Anjane Toragano, whose teammates and George Fox classmates affectionately referred to as Nay. She's a transfer out of Central Arizona College, played her high school ball at downtown St. Mary's Academy in Portland. Had her head turned as the three-pointer was up from Schultz, glanced off the top of the backboard, and the Bruins terminate the possession. Quickly ahead to Benner. maneuvering her way, top of the elbow jumper, one step inside, chased down her own miss, and George Fox can reset. Here's Torregano, who had an interesting game yesterday as Benner puts it up. That one will count. A long-lasting continuation as the bucket goes to the Bruins, and Justine Benner will step to the line for the chance to complete a three-point play. Anjane Torregano in quickly now into this third day of four-day tournament action at South Point Arena. Bookkeeping has become a constant theme. We saw it earlier in the game with a scoring error that was not notated by Carthage, was not appealed. Eventually, Carthage lost in overtime in the game ago. Costly loss there, and we saw yesterday Anjane Torregano apparently fouling out of the game, but when they went back and re-looked at everything, the foul count was actually 4. She came into the game and had a very productive fourth quarter.
Yeah, it's like rising from the dead at a very opportune time. George Fox would have won that game without her, but she made it possible for them to win comfortably more easily as they pulled away in the fourth.
Certainly at least makes you scratch your head and ponder the opposite hypothetical what if she had indeed fouled out of that game and no further correction was made. 6:02 to go in this first quarter, and Bethel will employ their first substitution of the game as we get a look at Callie Zimmerman.
Yeah, she comes in to replace O'Toole. Zimmerman and Perupski are supposed to be on the floor as often as possible, but coming into the week, they'd only played 9 minutes together all season.
And Zimmerman's coming back from an injury. She is a big-time difference maker on this Bethel team, trying to overcome the slow 5-4 start to their year. Schultz being hounded outdoors, I should say, by Nalawai, and another foul coming up. Well, George Fox getting physical in this one, and now they will pay the piper. Over 5.5 minutes remaining in this first quarter. Just like that, Bethel down 5, but they enter the bonus.
You know, Justin, one of the things that we always talk about with teams who get out of their general natural region as Zimmerman makes the first shot is you got to get out there and you got to see what the style of basketball is like in other regions. You got to see what the style of officiating is like, because if you're going to win the national championship, odds are you're not going to be able to do it by just seeing your own style and your own regional officials all the way to the end.
Now the hope is at least we have a good chunk of viewership today coming to us from the West Coast. So you being the homegrown Minnesota body, how would you characterize, and this could be a very long conversation to overtake many days and nights, how would you characterize the overall style of play in the MIAC?
Well, it's Midwest, MIAC, WIC both, very physical. They're a lot of big teams, but also I think the team that St. Thomas was successful with over the last couple years was tall and lanky. They were a little more athletic, a little less plodding. So
the Anna Smiths, the Maggie Wires of the world.
Yeah, exactly. You know what those players are like. They're big and wiry, tall and wiry, and fast and long, and it's a big kind of variety across Division III, which is nice.
5:34 to go in this first quarter. Bethel pulls within 3. Pull-up jumper is on the way, falling short. Ball battled for by both teams, and Torregano comes out running for George Fox. Across the midcourt line she comes, still keeping it all the way. Concerted effort, and draws a foul against Bethel. That'll be the Royals' second foul of this quarter. Low-scoring game, lots of turnovers developing between both teams. Not necessarily a surprise as Bethel forces its opponents into 17.6 turnovers per game, and George Fox on an annual basis has forced over 20 turnovers per game by their opponents.
Yeah, but they do it with different styles, right? George Fox is doing it with the pressure. Bethel's doing it with the half-court defense.
That's going to be an interesting theme to keep our eyes on, as well as George Fox. They'll look to enter those multiple half-court sets. Who do you go to? Justine Benner, obviously a key option for George Fox. Numerous wing players who are good three-point shooters, some of them trying to find their strides more so than others as we close down the second month of this Division III basketball season. Torregano knocks down 1 of 2 free throws on that trip with 5:30 to go in this first quarter.
It allows them
Bruins
to set up
by
the press.
4.
Yep.
And a tough pass there. Torregano's going to track this one down and likely be credited for the steal off the deflection. Into the front court she comes with Creech. Couple new bodies have checked in for George Fox. McDivitt had it for a moment. That's the freshman out of Beaverton, Oregon. Bailey McDivitt, the 6-footer who's been coming along quickly for George Fox. Frost zips it over to Torregano, and an unforced error there by the Bruins, and we go the other way.
Torregano, I know, obviously played really well yesterday, especially in her second stint, right? But she She plays, if you look at her, she doesn't look like the kind of player that she actually is on the floor. You know what I mean? Just a different body type, but still able to handle the ball, still able to move, still able to shoot.
And you don't necessarily characterize her as a point guard, but she can run the offense. She can handle the ball for a good amount of time, as Bethel is called for the traveling violation there. Turnovers aplenty, continuing to pile up for both teams with 4:48 remaining in this first quarter. For Bethel, that's going to be now their 4th turnover of the night versus 3 thrown away by the Bruins. Nallawai one-on-one versus Newell up the floor, now crosses safely. Chance of defense from this Bethel bench. Nallawai just throws up a prayer for dear life, and she gets it. What a move by Sammy Nallawai, bargaining mainly. Her looked like her only goal in that play was to get some contact and hope for the best, and it was a best-case scenario as she heads to the line for a 3-point opportunity.
Yeah, does a nice job driving the left-hand side of the lane, kind of twists with the contact, puts up the ball with the right hand, and somehow gets that roll.
Nallawai has the ability to do that at times. We don't see it all that often on the penetration. She's more, not to pigeonhole her as just a 3-and-D type player, but that time she attacked and was rewarded. 4:36 remaining in this first quarter. Bruins back into the full court press. Newell gets it eventually, dumps it ahead, and now open space for Kirchhoff. Kirchhoff's going to pull up and knock it down. That time Bethel breaks down the press. They get to the front court as quickly as they can, and they have a wonderful look at a wide open bucket.
Yeah, Angie Kirchhoff, great job there finishing in a spot where she's not necessarily accustomed to being that close to the basket with open space in front of her.
Kirchhoff played 15 minutes against Millsap, and it's open space ahead for Bethel, but not before Kimberly Frost can commit the foul. I was almost compelled to say there with the compare it to the NBA and call that one a debate if that was a clear path foul or not, but I guess considering where we are, a moot point on this afternoon.
Oh, I am never going to engage with you on an NBA reference in a D3 game, man.
I think me and Dave did that for about an hour last night around the 2 a.m. hour, and I think there were regrets on both sides.
I always say, your 2 a.m. is his 5 a.m. You know that, right?
I'm not sure if that means he's going to bed or rising for the day.
Yeah, it's 5 a.m. Eastern time.
That is gross. But I'll be joining that scenario here in a couple of days as the free throw is up and in for Bethel, cutting George Fox's lead back down to 3 with 4:10 to go in this first quarter.
Zimmerman, nice job off the bench. 4 free throws in her brief stint on the floor, and still kind of getting her sea legs underneath her, still trying to get game day conditioning.
Zimmerman looking for bearings, played 16 minutes, was productive, did not have a score as the backdoor cut nicely placed from Nallawai to Benner. Benner couldn't finish off the play, and Justine Benner, who's coming off of a cold shooting night yesterday against Carthage, though she did collect a double-double in that one, will head to the line for 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, if cold shooting is still 16 points and 11 rebounds or something along those lines, it's not bad.
Justine Benner, one of 5 Bruins to hit double-figure scoring yesterday in the 72-57 victory over Carthage. Benner misses the first of 2 free throws. She got to the line early and often yesterday, but only shot 5 for 11 for a George Fox team as a whole that struggles from the free throw line at least through the first 11 games of the year. Benner goes 1 for 2 on that trip.
But again, making the second free throw allows them to set up the press, and it's been very effective for them so far this afternoon.
Here is Newell, met by both Creech and Nallawai, eventually terminates the dribble, has nowhere to go, left the pass short, immediately a 3-on-2. Torregano keeps it, goes all the way, cannot complete the play, and the quick zippy outlet right side. Here comes Bethel. Immediately they break the press this time. Pull-up jumper on the way from Abby Miller. Not going to fall. Last touch by George Fox.
I think about 5 turnovers for Bethel here in the early going, 4 of them directly attributable to that press. All 4 of them in the backcourt. They never got a ball across the timeline.
Back up forward, Matney Jamison checks in for the first time tonight for George Fox, the freshman coming off of one of her finest performances of the season. 4 for 4 from the field with 10 points as Rachel Porupski misses on the left-handed sweeping hook. George Fox nearly beat Bethel in transition, but the pass got away from Jamison. Back we go to Bethel's side.
Porupski and the rest of the Bethel front court facing a completely different team and a different front court defense than they did yesterday against Millsaps, right? That was Millsaps?
Millsaps.
Yeah, I'm like...
The Millsaps Majors.
The Millsaps didn't have the size nearly or the length that George Fox does in the interior.
A lot of good guard play in that one. It was a defensive grapple between both teams. As Newell ran out of space, careened into Matney Jamison. It'll be an offensive foul against Bethel with 3:14 to go in this first quarter. Both teams now with 5 team fouls apiece. So it will be the double bonus the rest of the way, though. George Fox, after the offensive foul, does not shoot. Here we'll see Bethel try to give George Fox back a taste of their own medicine with a development of their own full court press before everyone pulls back now. It's some one-on-one action between Blizzard and Schultz. Up the pass, Sales towards Benner. Make that Kirchhoff, rather, who is defending Blizzard. George Fox continuing to work with those backdoor cuts, and the delivery's on point this time from Benner to Nalawai. It's a 17-11 George Fox lead. Offense all of a sudden becoming the flavor of this game.
Yeah, and Nalawai, I'm very impressed by her here in the first 7 minutes.
Here's a poke away by Benner, ends up with Creech. She'll wait for numbers, finds the cutting Blizzard. Outside, Nalawai, space for three. Rimming off the front of the iron. Bethel comes out running. Here comes Miller with a full head of steam. Down the lane, challenged by Blizzard, and she got a piece of that one. Creech recovers the rebound, looking for a friend, and there's one in Blizzard along the right side. And just the defensive swarming continuing by the Bruins, whether it's in the backcourt or near the hoop. Here's Matney Jamison with a light dream shake there, but she's firmly rejected by Perupski, and now Bethel wants to accelerate the tempo.
Well,
2:09 to go.
Yeah, but you see that coming down the floor. Miller saw Blizzard in front of her, decided she was not going to fight the Blizzard this time around.
George Fox, puns aplenty with their starting backcourt. The wintry mix of Kimberly Frost and Nicole Blizzard doing what they can in this one. Firm collision, and that's going to be a blocking foul against Matney Jamison, as it was Morse who tried to step through and met a firm, inelastic collision. Down to 1:53 in this first quarter. It's going to be Morse to the line for Bethel, who's taken their first free throws of the night, I believe. Make that actually, I've fallen far behind here.
Zimmerman has had 4 on her own, though.
Well, there you go. Shows how much attention I'm paying to this game. Morse up and in, and Bethel has opened this game shooting quite stout from the free throw line, 5 for 6.
Yeah, and there, that's something you have to be able to do, right? When the focus of your game is around the front court, you're going to bring the ball to the basket. There's going to be contact. You got to be able to finish at the foul line.
Morse preparing for a second, and misses off the side iron. Rebound, Bailey McDevitt. She'll shuttle it ahead to Nalawai here, top of the arc. Waits for the Bruins to reset, in a bit of trouble right here, using her pivot foot to save her grace. McDevitt nearly lost her footing. Good half-court defense being employed here, woman-to-woman by Bethel. Shot clock is down to 10 with 90 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Morse nearly poked through there for a steal, leaving McDevitt for 3 with 4 on the shot clock. No good. Caitlin Jamison, who's back on the floor for Fox, got the offensive rebound and draws a foul late.
Yeah, you mentioned good defense by Bethel. That's the lowest we've seen the shot clock go here in the first quarter. Down to 4 seconds. Drew iron, but George Fox got the offensive rebound, and Jamison fought it off enough to get to the foul line.
There have been enough points to go around in this first quarter as Jamison's first clanks off the back iron, but the defensive influence is well apparent looking at the numbers. George Fox shooting 6 for 16 from the field. Bethel just 3 for 10 with 7 turnovers. George Fox currently winning the turnover margin by 2. Bruins in the full court press.
Yeah, Bethel's going to have to figure out how to do something with this press, but Callie Zimmerman bringing the ball up the floor there effectively.
Zimmerman setting up Morse outside. That nearly missed it all, but the rebound tracked down offensively by O'Toole, and Bethel can do it again with 1:08 and ticking in this first quarter. Quick entry pass. Perupski trying to do strong work against Jamison. Missed on the short range shot, and here comes McDevitt showing off her dribble.
Yeah, Perupski's just struggling inside right now. Haven't gotten the ball to her on a regular basis, and when they've gotten it into her, she hasn't been able to get a basket.
Foul down low, and the Bruins will be shooting again. You mentioned Perupski now, 0 for 2 from the field after that attempt, and George Fox, though it appears at least evaluating only the starting lineups of both teams, Bethel would likely have the front court advantage. George Fox has done all they can to make things very unpleasant in the interior offensively for Bethel.
Yeah, I mean they may not have the size or the heft necessarily, but they're very active, and that's been a great source of difficulty for Perupski and also a little bit for O'Toole.
Benner and Torregano back on the floor for George Fox with 52.4 seconds remaining in this first quarter. Second free throw is up and in for the Bruins.
And again, the pressure.
Bethel remaining patient. One dribble and the pickup.
Yeah.
And that one's thrown just directly right to Casey Creech. It did not have enough of an arc on it to make it towards Zimmerman's direction. Torregano tries to cash in immediately, misses on the three-point shot, and after the deflection, George Fox looks to get it back.
Well, it's just a bad decision on the part of Molly O'Toole, right? If I were the person who picked up my dribble 65 feet away from the basket, I would hear the coach screaming in my head, "What are you picking up your dribble for?"
Nalawai to inbound from the Bruins front court baseline, outside to Benner. Benner on the move, return to Nalawai. She'll unload the three. That misses short, and it's Perupski skying high for the rebound for Bethel.
Still trying to find a way to contribute.
About a 1 second differential between the game clock and shot clock as Schultz dumps it off. Here's Morse trying to free herself, steps inside, and should be called for the traveling violation.
Yeah, emphasis on steps.
Turnovers getting to Bethel. That's now their 9th turnover of this first quarter, and George Fox has to be absolutely thrilled with the pace in which they're forcing turnovers against the Royals. Nalawai leaves it for Torregano. George Fox appears content to go for the last shot here to conclude this first quarter. It's been a good one so far between the Bruins and the Royals. Down to 6 seconds. Handoff from McDivitt to Torregano. Throws up the runner, and a foul comes late. Not what Bethel wanted to have happen there, as they got into the bonus, beating George Fox to the bonus with about 5.5 minutes to go in this first quarter. But since then, all the whistles have gone nearly the Bruins' way.
Yeah, and John Herbexmeyer, the Bethel head coach, has been having frequent, calm but frequent conversations with whatever official happens to be standing in front of the Bethel bench.
The discussion has been consistent throughout this first quarter. Torregano knocking down the free throw. Longtime head coach John Herbexmeyer, class of 92 at Gustavus Adolphus, the former, I guess you can always call him always if it's your alma mater, the Golden Gusty, as Nalawai's follow does not go down for the Bruins. Comfortable 9-point lead for George Fox at the end of the first quarter, who is forcing Bethel into a number of turnover issues. Bethel will try to ratchet it down and try to ignite their offense as we move forward to the second quarter here from South Point Resort Arena in Las Vegas. This is the D3Hoops.com Classic on D3Hoops.com.
And some scores from around the rest of Division III over the course of the afternoon. Can we still say afternoon? Early evening if you're out on the East Coast. Second-ranked Amherst defeated Salisbury by the score of 59-35 in Daytona Beach. Amherst improves to 9-0. That game that Gordon and Dave were talking about earlier, Wheaton of Illinois, the 8th-ranked Thunder, defeated number 10 St. Thomas 66-58. Back-to-back losses for St. Thomas. Now they fall into 8-2. Wheaton.
And you'd think even though, sorry to interject, you'd think even with Bethel's current record of 5-4, the stakes are raised even higher for this sort of game. You get this signature win against George Fox, and all of a sudden the MIAC is going to be at least a 2-horse race.
Yeah, I got some MIAC scores coming up in a second. Whitman improved to 8-1. They knocked off 16th-ranked Williams 70-56 in Nashville. Trinity of Texas improved to 9-1. They're the number 19 Tigers. They defeated LeTourneau 88-68. Elsewhere in the MIAC, if you're a Bethel fan, Coast Guard defeated Gustavus 62-51 in Puerto Rico. That's a bit of a surprise.
Home court advantage, though.
In Puerto Rico.
Coast Guard. It's near the water.
I get that, yeah. I don't know if it was on an aircraft carrier.
I mean, the Coast Guard is everywhere, right?
Hamlin won its 3rd game of the season, or won for the 3rd time this season. They defeated Colorado College 68-64. St. Ben's at Minnesota Morris coming up a little bit later. Northwest Conference scores. I mentioned the Whitman win over Williams. Whitworth lost to Babson 70-62, and coming up later, Pack Lutheran and Cal Lutheran. Lewis and Clark plays Claremont Mudd Scripps, and Linfield against Warner Pacific.
A lot of good basketball action as teams all across the country. Backdoor delivery, Nalawai to Caitlin Jamison, and the assists are piling up early in this game. George Fox continuing to go to that backdoor play, and the recognition has not settled in seemingly yet for Bethel.
Now, Bethel has a lot to worry about with what George Fox is doing. There's that, and there's all the pressure that they're showing here at full court on every made basket.
But going back to that original thought, as the drive's on the way by Zimmerman, no good. Rebound by Nalawai. A lot of good games as many teams all over the country are coming back to action, whether it be in non-conference tournaments from here to Daytona Beach, even further to Puerto Rico, as the shot is up and knocked out of bounds. Montclair State, the women's team who made a big splash last year, emerging to the Final Four under head coach Karen Harvey. Saw some pictures tweeted out of them in a Puerto Rico tournament as well. Benner stepped to the line now here for George Fox. She was fouled in the act of shooting. 9:32 to go in this second quarter.
Key first quarter stats, Justin. George Fox out-rebounding Bethel 16-9. The 9 turnovers in the first quarter for Bethel. When you break down stats into now 10-minute quarters instead of 20-minute halves, something like 9 turnovers, that's not something you see very often. They only made 3 field goals in the first quarter. Neither team shot particularly well, but George Fox had all of the extra possessions because of the turnovers and the rebounds.
Yeah, with these new rule changes, there's so many pros and cons and overall new issues and different things to consider. And one of them is the segmentation statistically of quarters. You can break things down, as you said, into these little 10-minute snippets, and it helps paint a more fuller picture of what's going on, I think, over these 40-minute stretches.
There's another turnover.
Benner, Torregano, quickly to Nalawai, corner 3. She is looking for her 3-point shot tonight. It has not fallen so far. Benner on the follow, however, and George Fox takes advantage of an easy miscue under the block by Bethel. And I think the most outstanding stat right now in this game, one I did not expect, is that rebounding battle with Bethel seemingly having the size advantage, but George Fox currently out-rebounding them by 8.
Yeah, especially on the offensive glass. George Fox has 7 offensive rebounds through the first quarter, and Bethel 7 defensive rebounds. So you think of all the missed shots for George Fox, they're splitting them 50-50, and Bethel should be winning that rebounding battle just as a natural course as defensive rebound, let alone by the fact that they have some of that size advantage.
Benner skying high against Zimmerman. She stays with the play, and Zimmerman, a concerted effort to get that ball towards the net, and she's fouled in the process. And if you're Bethel, maybe you look to what Carthage did yesterday, getting to the line time and time again against George Fox, who's not a good free throw shooting team. Bethel went 18 for 26 from the foul line. or Carthage yesterday, I should say, got to the foul line early and often. And if you're Bethel, maybe you want to try and employ a similar strategy.
I'll be honest with you. I think that Coach Herbergsmeyer is employing that strategy, and he's thinking he's not necessarily getting the calls. You think about the 2 times that Perupski went inside, for example, a lot of contact in there, no call either way. And I think that's some of the discussions that he's been having with the officials here this afternoon.
Second free throw wouldn't fall, but it's a crucial offensive rebound by Bethel, who will try to do it again. Gets it, and the foul. Kaylee Zimmerman having a long trip down here and making the most of it.
Zimmerman with her 7th point, her first field goal of the afternoon. Remember, she was 4 for 4 from the foul line in limited action in the first quarter. She made just one of the 2 free throws on the previous possession, but Callie Zimmerman finishes with a nice look and has a shot at a 3-point play right here.
Bethel making its business at the line on this particular trip.
And a long trip.
Zimmerman knocks it down, and finally the Bruins get out of the defensive possession, but not before allowing 4 points in the process.
I finally what you were saying about long trip. I thought you were talking about long trip to Las Vegas, but it was the double offensive possession at this end of the floor you were talking about.
Well, there's both metaphorical as well as literal applications to that term, I guess you could say, for not only Bethel, St. Vincent, the men's team who comes to mind we'll see later tonight against Ramapo. They certainly had an arduous trip from East Coast to West Coast with many stops along the way, some unexpected, some longer than others. Blizzard lost control going up, but off the deflection, it's cleaned up by McDivitt. George Fox, after the score, leads 29-16, 8:09 remaining in this first half from South Point Arena.
Bethel's never going to have much of a shot in this game if they can't figure out how to break that press and break it efficiently. Here with 1 second to go on the 10-second clock, they managed to get it across.
Perupski in space, misses on the long, wide-open jumper from the side. Blizzard wants to run. There's a football pass ahead to Sammy Nalawai, who catches it looking over her shoulder, trying to do so. And after another deflection, George Fox will have a more conventional attack in the half-court set.
That's right. You guys are allowed to throw football passes now.
Great one.
Before they had to be baseball passes.
Well, at least Linfield's not in the building this weekend. High pass over towards Justine Benner outside. McDivitt takes a look at the long 2. No good. Nalawai the offensive rebound.
It's just really active on the rebounding end. No boxing out there.
Creech misses on the 3. George Fox ice cold from 3-point land, but they're getting many an opportunity, and if the numbers keep playing suit, George Fox eventually, one of these is going to fall. They're now just 1 for 7 from the 3-point line, but again, you take a look at the offensive rebounds, where the Bruins should be approximately out-rebounding now Bethel 13-4, I estimate.
Yeah, and they had only 5 points off second chance opportunities in the first quarter. It seemed like a heck of a lot more than that, in all honesty. But I know that's one that's calculated automatically by the computer, so it's not something to judge. It just seemed that they were really dominant on the boards.
Second free throw good by George Fox, leading Bethel 30-16. 7.5 to go in this first half. Frost pressurizing Newell one-on-one. Lobs it left to O'Toole, bringing it back towards the middle and dribbling it into her teammate. Now the whip way ahead. There are numbers for Bethel, but Schultz lost her footing and loses it out of bounds to the Bruins for the 11th turnover of this game for Bethel. Still averaging nearly a turnover per minute, nearly 13 minutes through this ball game.
Yeah, hard to fault Schultz there. That ball was actually just overthrown. She had to lean out into across the out-of-bounds line to grab it, and when she came back down, she didn't have it.
7:23 to go in this second quarter. Bruins by 14. We'll take a quick break here. You're watching the D3Hoops.com Classic on D3Hoops.com. And we welcome you back very quickly to South Point Arena, along with Pat Coleman, Justin Sweeney on hand. George Fox leading Bethel 30-16. Bethel finding a little bit of offensive traction in this second quarter from the free throw line. They shot 44% from the field on Sunday, I should say, as Nalawai throws off Newell there, and Sammy Nalawai is going to be called for the push-off and the offensive foul. Nalawai does not like the call and voices her displeasure with it. Bethel in this game now shooting 7 for 10 from the foul line. George Fox 11 for 16 from their charity stripe. Bethel just 25% from the field in this game, as George Fox's press is working nearly to perfection. Turnover number 12 of this first half.
That's just that last turnover there is something that's not even necessarily forced. Ball's already in the front court, and they still lose the handle on it. Bad handling.
Better turnaround shot won't fall, but she's fouled in the act of shooting. And it's going to be right back to the free throw line for Justine Benner and the George Fox Bruins. Benner coming off of a double-double yesterday for George Fox. First free throw up, rumbles around, and will not fall. Benner, the first player in this game to hit double-figure scoring, but comes away with nothing at the free throw line that time.
For once, an unmolested rebound for Bethel.
It will be key for the Royals to get back into this game by winning the battle on the boards, and like a quarterback out of nowhere, Justine Benner swoops in for the interception, dumps it off to Frost, missed the bunny, but again another offensive rebound for George Fox, and they can do it again.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, the George Fox pressure. Bethel's just seeming not to see it coming.
McDevitt strong post up, but couldn't finish off the play. And now here comes Schultz patiently the other way, carefully ahead of Newell. Newell peering indoors. Not a lot of movement for Bethel right now, but eventually the dump off goes to Miller. Now to Zimmerman, pressurized by Nalawai, trying to force her way inside. Sharp move by Callie Zimmerman, and we are seeing the difference her additions making to this lineup.
Yeah, one of the things I'm liking about her in the early going is no fear, right? They're going in against a team that's playing very well defensively, top 3 team in the country, and she doesn't seem intimidated at all. And not to say that other Bethel players are, but
you're looking for someone to take charge at this point in the game,
and she's definitely doing so. Can she play 30 minutes tonight? Maybe not, because it's only her 3rd game of the season, working back off the injury. But they really need her presence out there because she's almost the only one doing anything.
Well, she's following suit alongside George Fox's Justine Benner. Zimmerman with that bucket became the first Royal to hit double-figure scoring on this night. Crazy driver on the way, missed by Newell. Bethel wins the rebounding battle. They'll draw the foul. That will be the 4th team foul now against the Bruins with 5:57 remaining in this first half. George Fox up by 12 against Bethel. We've seen George Fox have a number of double-digit leads this year that they have returned to their opponents. But George Fox has always found a way to close off a play. That time it's O'Toole on the 14-foot jumper. It's good, and Bethel's within 10.
O'Toole with a big game on Sunday, but that's her first basket today.
They'll need O'Toole to step up. McDevitt squares to the bucket and knocks it down. Good look for Bailey McDevitt, stretching the lead back to 12 for the Bruins.
And again, the pressure, and this time Bethel is able to dribble it into the front court.
Great press breaker executed this time by the Royals. Schultz moving it around. They kick it back. Kirchhoff in the game, working the offense right now as the anchor. Down low to O'Toole. She's left alone, given space, airballs it from 7 feet out. Zimmerman cannot save it for the Royals.
O'Toole rushed that shot, didn't she? She had a couple of seconds to work. Oh, maybe not a couple of seconds, but she had a beat or two to work with. She caught the ball, forced it up, and completely missed a 7-footer on the baseline.
McDivitt had the interesting motion. She first stepped forward as if she was going to contest the shot, and then at the final moment pulled back and gave her the wide open jumper. And I don't know if that completely changes your frame of motion sometimes, but as you said, O'Toole, she did not have a good release there.
So foul there on Callie Zimmerman, and that is key because that is foul number 3 for her. So she's got 3 fouls. Shani Morse has 3 fouls, and there are 2 Royals with 2 fouls as well, including Perupski and Niewald.
George Fox 32, Bethel 20. Time halfway elapsed through this second quarter. Torregano one-on-one, and she's called for the offensive foul as Kirchhoff goes flying.
Nice job by Kirchhoff just stepping in there. You know, she gives up a lot of size in that particular transaction, but she did a good job to step in there and draw it.
For George Fox, that's going to be their 9th turnover of this game. 4:57 now left in this second quarter.
Yeah, but Bethel's got to start doing something with some of those things, right? They're having a little bit of success, but they're not necessarily converting it into points on the scoreboard.
O'Toole moving it now. Ahead to Newell. Newell open space. Kirchhoff closed in on by Blizzard. Dangerous pass that's nearly taken away by Benner. It's recovered, though, instead.
Kirchhoff not related to the former Bethel quarterback, Scott Kirchhoff, and seen by evidence by that pass there.
Here's O'Toole, jumper away, clanks off the back iron, follows her shot that careens right back to her, and she knocks it down on the second try. Bethel within 10.
You know, Morse was able to be much more dominant, much more of a force in the interior. She's trying to figure out a different way to contribute here today.
Benner, the spinner, no good, left it short on the left side. Delawide tried to swoop in on the backside, behind the curtain. But Bethel didn't throw it in that direction.
Got to get someone to come to her to get the basketball. There we go.
Schultz dribbling into trouble. Open space ahead for Creech. A 3-on-1 for George Fox, and she completes the left-handed layup.
Now, I just don't see it. Your Bethel, your player is double-teamed in the backcourt about 60 feet away from the basket, and then there's nobody coming to help to pick up the basketball from her. It was no wonder that she turned it over.
Heavy contact on this play as Bethel tried to break down the press, and Newell will receive a trip to the free throw line for the Royals. Bethel continuing to shoot well from the free throw line on this night, 70% versus 61% by the Bruins. Make that 8 for 11 now for the Bethel Royals.
Yep, and that's right on par with their season average. They came into the week shooting 72.5% from the foul line. They're not a great three-point shooting team. You know, as we've mentioned, they're very focused around their front court, but they need to be able to finish at the foul line.
It's a perfect trip that time for the Royals, who again pull back within 10. 34-24 George Fox lead. George Fox getting their points. The necessary turnovers forced. Blizzard trying to stave off Schultz. Feed goes right to Creech. Benner wants the basketball, but she's defended well by O'Toole. 12 to go on the shot clock. Only the second time in this game I can recall that the shot clock has ticked into single digits for George Fox. Not a good shot by Blizzard, and she is slow to get up. Took a spill there, and she's going to try and run that collision off. Entry pass deep for O'Toole. A little too hard, but it's recovered and put up. Missed by Hannah Johnson. Her first appearance of the night for Bethel. And all alone underneath again is Creech. Blew the layup. There was no one there to meet her, and just too much momentum on the delivery. Schultz nearly dribbled that one away out of bounds, but the Royals will get it back.
Yeah, exactly. Too far underneath the basket. It was already too far ahead of her. Not hearing footsteps necessarily or anything, just, you know, not in a good position to finish.
Sometimes harder than it looks. 3 minutes to go. George Fox leading Bethel 34-24 in this first half.
Benner with almost another turnover or a pickoff right there.
O'Toole with a busy dribbling exhibition outside for the post, and a jump ball on the rebound. George Fox with the arrow. And we will have a timeout coming up here between Bethel and George Fox. Bethel trying to hand George Fox its first regular season loss in the last 39 games as the journey continues. 2:54 to go in this first half. We'll be back in a moment on D3Hoops.com. And back with you from the D3Hoops.com Classic, Justin Sweeney and Pat Coleman bringing you the call of George Fox taking on Bethel. Bruins return on offense, emerging from the timeout. Blizzard working one-on-one up the floor with Angie Kirchhoff. Kirchhoff has played in all 10 games this season, one of the better three-point shooters for Bethel, shooting 36% from behind the arc. Bethel has not looked to its three-point game all that much in this first half as the Bruins airball a three-point shot. They are not shooting well from the three-point line in this tournament as a whole if you look back to the game against Carthage last night, but it hasn't really mattered because of all the turnovers forced, translating to easy looks from close range for George Fox.
Yeah, Bethel has not focused on the three so far this afternoon because they're really focused on trying to take advantage of what they feel is a size advantage underneath, and here it's Abby Miller on the sideline turning the ball over after, once again, Bethel got the ball into the front court, seemingly broke the press, yet turned it over anyway.
Abby Miller just checked back into the game. That's Bethel's 15th turnover of this first half. Benner standing strong, sends it across to Nalawai. Rocker stepping and waiting for action to occur inside. Now she'll take it and draw the foul. Both teams are in the double bonus. This will be free throws coming up for Sammy Nalawai. And we'll wait for the foul. It's going to be against Newell. Newell, the 2015 All-Minnesota Intercollegiate Athletic Conference honorable mention. Big part of what this team does as she averages 7 points a game. Shooting a challenging percentage so far entering the weekend, but very busy, rebounds well as a guard. Also facilitates and dishes. A lot of these guards for Bethel, not a lot of high assist figures, but when you tally it all together, they make the engine hum.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much a distributed responsibility for running the offense. Nobody with more than 2.0 assists per game, but a bunch of players in between 1 and 2. They just really spread the ball around.
Tool rifles a one-hander ahead to beat the press single-handedly. Now the dump off. Beautiful setup from Miller to Hannah Johnson to complete the play. George Fox ahead by 10 as we surpass the 2-minute mark of this first half.
Hannah Johnson, just a freshman, which is a 6'1" freshman from Duluth, Minnesota, getting an opportunity here in a game where they need some size inside.
Nalawai had the idea to take it all the way herself and takes a hard spill. This is going to be another foul on Bethel, this time coming up against Sydney Schultz, the senior guard.
Remember, with all the foul trouble for the Royals in the front court, they really needed some of those other players to step up. So Johnson, who hasn't gotten a ton of minutes throughout the course of the season, is getting an opportunity here right now.
Bruins right back to the free throw line, currently 13 for 20 from the foul line in this first half. Busy free throw procession, but maybe it's me, it hasn't necessarily felt like it.
Well, you mean it hasn't felt like a long, disjointed game, right?
Right. There's a good procession of flow, I guess you could term it.
Yeah, I mean, the tempo is good, and even though Bethel's turning the ball over a lot, it doesn't seem like a sloppy game. It just seems like really good defense by George Fox.
Good looking pull-up by Abby Miller, and again, in the times that Bethel is able to break down George Fox's full-court press in that 3-4 second span, it's translating into lovely looks from the mid-range the other way.
Yeah, it's just unfortunately for Bethel fans, it's happening few and far between.
Headings, her first three-point toss of the night. She is heating up from three-point range over the last 3-4 games for the Bruins. The freshman forward out of Hermiston, Oregon. Some of the best watermelons in the world come from Hermiston.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
The Hermiston watermelons. It's all the rage in the fall around the Pacific Northwest.
I just made my every 5-year trip to Oregon, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get back for the watermelons.
We'd love to have you again next fall, Pat. The sooner the better. Here comes Creech after the Miller pull-up was blocked from behind by George Fox. Outside McDivitt. 1 minute to go in this first half. Bitter trying to power inside, and she goes down.
It's been very physical on the inside and physical on both ends of the floor. So, you know, Benner, who's listed at 6'0", and probably doesn't weigh more than 150 pounds or something like that. At least that's how it seems. It's sometimes at a bit of a disadvantage in terms of strength and power versus some of the other players.
She's actually bulked up, I would say, a little bit from her junior year to her senior year, but she hasn't really lost the speed. Still with her offensive game, she begins the penetration action from the top of the elbow, emerging inward, but we've seen her spending more time on the blocks this year.
And for me, as the first free throw is missed by Johnson, I look at Benner and I think, yeah, fairly prototypical George Fox post player.
She will certainly factor into the conversation for Northwest Conference Player of the Year, not to be outdone by Whitworth's high-scoring guard Casey McConnell, who's having a whale of a season so far.
Lead down to single digits for the first time in quite a while.
Nalawai looking inside. George Fox has been apt to give away leads against opponents all season long, but they have not failed in finishing off the job after 40 minutes of gameplay.
Great job by O'Toole there, standing tall and then getting the rebound too.
Here is Kirkhoff the other way, blew the layup. She was all alone. Benner was turned to the right side. A jump ball, and George Fox will get it back. A golden opportunity wasted by Bethel.
Yeah, they really needed that or something to come out of that offensive possession, because Molly O'Toole did such a great job on the defensive end against Benner. You know, she held her ground, she stood tall, and then she got the rebound as well. So I guess we're flipping the possession arrow that this ball has gotten tied up so many times that they forgot to switch the arrow on the scoreboard, so it will be Bethel ball.
Like you said, it's been a physical matchup here between the Bruins and the Royals. Lots to keep track of in terms of fouls, points. Toole going up, possession switches, and she puts in the nicely played inbound pass. George Fox's lead dwindling by the minute, down to 7, leading 38-31. Nalawai up the floor, defended closely by Schultz. Shot clock turned off. George Fox looking to whittle a little more time off the clock. Headings, trouble on the handoff nearly, but she was fouled first by Kirkhoff. It will be Taven Headings heading to the line for the Bruins.
Now, this final possession here is very key for Bethel. They need to not unravel some of the momentum that they've gained here over the course of the past few minutes and go into the locker room not down by double figures.
Headings stepping to the line, drains the first of 2 free throws. That gives George Fox an 8-point lead once more. Headings, that's her first point of the game for George Fox. The second is true as well. 16 and a half seconds to go in this first half. Trouble on the inbound nearly, but it's recovered quickly by Kirkhoff. Lob ahead. This is Kirkhoff, rather, I should say, from Miller. Tries to dump off a bounce pass, but that was telegraphed and taken away by Headings. She was looking for Hannah Johnson down low, and now a late mistake coming against Kirkhoff, and this will again send George Fox to the line.
Yeah, just not a good decision both times, right, Justin? First of all, Kirkhoff, maybe from not having had success on the last couple of trips down the floor in the fast break, this time she looks to pass it off, but, O'Toole is completely covered. There was no way to get the basketball to her, and then compounding that mistake by committing a foul.
Just a really needless extra possession that Bethel has turned back to George Fox. Benner stepping to the line for the Bruins. Heck of a first half for the Bruins senior starting forward. First is up, rumbles around. Benner still trying to unlock the code in this game from the foul line, now shooting 4 for 8. 3 for 8 from the field, as is her senior counterpart on the wing, Sammy Nalawai. And those are the 2 players for George Fox who have hit double-figure scoring in this first half of play. Benner's second is good, 4.7 seconds. Bethel trying to act quickly. Over to Miller, she looks at the clock, continues the dribble, crosses the timeline, releases in time, and this will fall short. So a strong defensive first half overall by George Fox, but Bethel has come to do with them as well. They'll try to figure out and fend off the turnover bug as George Fox forced Bethel into 16 first half turnovers. But Bethel has proven to be adept at getting to the foul line in this first half. We'll toss it over to Pat Coleman, who's now joined by George Fox head coach Michael Meek.
Thanks, Justin. Coach, first of all, the pressure has been extremely effective for you guys over the course of the first half, but over the last 3 minutes or so of the second quarter, Bethel started working their way back into this game a bit.
Yeah, they're doing a great job being aggressive, knock down some jumpers, knocking down their free throws, those type of things will keep you in games. They're a great team, so we got to do a better job playing without fouling and moving our feet, and their kids are working really hard. We need to come back and have a really nice, strong second half, too.
Yeah, very physical game here through the first 20 minutes. How are your kids handling it?
I think we're doing what we can. I think we need to keep playing stronger through contact and just really be great at what we can control.
All right, Coach, thanks. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Great.
back to Justin.
Thanks a lot, Pat. Great stuff from head coach of George Fox, Michael Meek. His George Fox Bruins have a comfortable 10-point lead at the half. Defense galvanizing them on to this 41-31 lead. We'll take a break of about 5 to 10 minutes and be back with you here for halftime analysis, some scores from around the D3 landscape. Plenty more to come as we're in Game 3 of a six-game day here at Day 3 of the D3Hoops.com Classic from South Point Arena.
Back out here at the half at South Point Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, where George Fox, the number 3 ranked team in the country, leads Bethel 41-31 at the half. Justin Sweeney will join us in a minute. I'll take you through halftime stats. First, for the Royals of Bethel, led off the bench by Callie Zimmerman, 10 points on 2 of 4 shooting, 6 for 7 from the foul line. Her 10 points came in just 8 minutes. And it was Molly O'Toole with 6 points, 3 of 7 shooting, also a game-high 8 rebounds, 5 of them on the defensive end. Then it's Hannah Newell with 4, Hannah Johnson with 3, Sydney Schultz with 3, Angie Kirchhoff and Abby Miller with 2 apiece, and Shani Morse with 1. Then Rachel Porupski played but did not score for the total of 31 points. Bethel 10 of 29 from the floor, 34.5%, 1 for 4 from downtown, 25%, and 10 for 14 from the foul line, 71.4%. Out-rebounded by George Fox, 27-23, and turned the ball over 16 times compared to just 8 for the Bruins. And the Bruins were led through the first 20 minutes by Justine Benner with 11 points, 3 for 8 from the floor, 5 for 9 from the foul line, tied for the team high with 6 rebounds and had a pair of blocked shots in her 17 minutes of action. Semi Nalawai with 11 as well, also 3 for 8 from the floor, 0 for 3 from downtown, but a perfect 5 for 5 from the charity stripe. It was Caitlin Jamison then with 5, Bailey McDevitt with 5, then you go down to Frost with 3, Creeks with 2, Headings with 2, Torgano with 2, and then Matney Jamison and Blizzard played but did not score for the total of 41 points. George Fox, 11 of 37 from the floor for 29.7%, 1 for 9 from downtown, 11%, and 18 for 26 from the foul line. And Justin, those are the big numbers, but also foul trouble for Bethel. There are 3 players with 3 fouls apiece. That's Shani Morse, who played just 8 minutes and picking up those 3 first-half fouls. Then Newell with 3. Callie Zimmerman, who played that, provided that spark off the bench, she has 3 fouls as well. And then Torregano with 3 fouls for George Fox.
And the one factor I'd be keeping my eye on for the Bethel side is the rebounding category. George Fox is out rebounding, perhaps unexpectedly to many, by 8 rebounds at one point. Since then, Bethel has thinned the gap, being out rebounded by the Bruins in the first half, 27-23. Again, looking at this game, at least on paper, Bethel would have the size advantage up front, and they've got to have their big players like Molly O'Toole, Rachel Porupski stand up. O'Toole leading the way with 8 rebounds. Can Porupski and perhaps Zimmerman and Hannah Johnson, who we saw some very good moments from off the bench, make their mark on the boards as well? And again, at the end of the second quarter, they started to thin that gap.
Mike Meek talked as we went to halftime about keeping his kids out of foul trouble. You know, for Bethel, that's even more important, right? First of all, they have more players with foul trouble. Secondly, they're almost all in the front court, and that's where their strength is. And it's been a bit of a struggle. They'll need more minutes from Hannah Johnson off the bench, who played 5 minutes in the second quarter, 6 minutes in the first half, contributed 3 points, had 3 rebounds. She's going to play a key role, I think, down the stretch the way things are going.
Both teams strolling out to the floor. Bruins will have first possession to begin this second half. After 20 minutes of gameplay, 20 more to go, at least we presume. George Fox leading Bethel 41-31, and we are underway. Inbound pass sails over to the point guard, junior Kimberly Frost, and here we go, 20 more minutes of action. Blizzard, Nalawai, Benner handling outside. Jamison didn't score a whole lot in that first half, coming off that 8-block performance yesterday, as going down is Schultz away from the play, and immediately a foul coming up against George Fox. See players slipping and sliding, colliding, taking hard dishes to the floor, and you just hope everybody can make it through this game unscathed as well.
Yeah, foul is on Molly O'Toole. Her first, she was one of the few players without big foul numbers in the interior for Bethel, and there she comes up with a loose ball.
Blizzard wild post up there, goes for naught, and quickly back pushes Bethel. Here's Schultz pondered a 3 before Nalawai swarmed in on her and thought better of it.
Yeah, and then also Miller thought better of a 3 as well. I think both of them were good decisions.
Bethel currently shooting 25% from behind the arc entering the weekend as a foul comes down low.
Yep, and Callie Zimmerman getting the start here to start the third quarter for Bethel, even though she was not in the starting lineup earlier, but she's was the big spark off the bench once again, as I mentioned earlier.
First is up for Zimmerman and cannot get it to fall.
Zimmerman now 6 of 8 from the line on the afternoon.
Second up by Zimmerman, and Bethel's within 9. 41-32, George Fox lead.
Now Bethel showing a little bit of pressure here in the backcourt.
Interesting confluence. Blizzard setting up Binner outdoors. She'll begin her drive, draw a double team, kick it to Nalawai, who had a lot of good open looks from 3 in that first half, but couldn't knock them down. Long jumper for 2, no good, and Perupski down with the rebound, forwards it to O'Toole. O'Toole trying to break down Benner and will set it up outside to Abby Miller. Also Miller getting the start in this second half.
Yeah, that was just Perupski's 3rd rebound as well. She's usually a bigger force, and you're just not winning the battles on the boards much.
O'Toole squares up for 3. It's off the mark. Bethel shooting briefly and rarely from the three-point line in that first half, just 1 for 4. Entry pass deep goes to Jamison, power dribbling, and she's stuffed inside by Perupski. Heads up defensive play by the Bethel Ryoals.
Second block of the afternoon for Perupski.
Here comes Schultz, wheeling and dealing down the floor to the left side, defended well by Nalawai. Switches direction, crafty move, sets up Zimmerman outdoors on the left end. And back up top for O'Toole between the circles. Miller met by Frost, drags away from her, throws up a wild runner. Good thought, but too much momentum on the release. And here come the Bruins on the push the other way. Frost trying to beat everyone down the track, no good. Benner on the putback, and she's fouled.
Almost not even sure really how Benner got the basketball.
We've seen a lot of moments like that in this game. Swarmed underneath in the hoop and lots of traffic, and emerging from the fray is Justine Benner on many a putback. She'll head to the line for George Fox, who was 18 for 26 in the first half from the foul line, and this time she gets the friendly roll. I swear this rim on the left side is kinder than the one on the right, but I may just be inhaling the winds of the casino.
Is that the equestrian center part of the casino, or the cigar smoke
I
part
think
of the
it's
casino?
every single molecule that has wafted its way from south to the north part of this casino. O'Toole back the other way quickly. She'll take it all the way. May have got away with a step there, but she went inside concertedly, and Jamison broke that up. Here comes Benner. Outside Blizzard. Has time to tee up for 3. Missed it all, and the rebound right into the arms of Zimmerman. Sharp clearance ahead for Miller to work with.
Yeah, Zimmerman has been key here throughout the first 23 minutes of the game. You know, obviously, it doesn't take a lot to be in position for a rebound, but there she's still attacking the basket.
There's a good drive by Zimmerman. She sought plenty of contact. No foul was called, but Bethel will get the reprieve on the putback attempt. It'll be Rachel Perupski stepping to the line for 2 with 7.5 remaining in this third quarter.
Remember Perupski, she's a D3Hoops.com award winner, right? National Rookie of the Year, at least Regional Rookie of the Year. It's as if
National
the notes
Rookie
are
of the Year
right here in front of
2013.
me. Right, notes are right here in front of me. But she struggled with injury and with the absence of some of her fellow post players. Makes that first free throw, but she's came into the week only averaging a little under 7 points and a little over 4 rebounds a game.
Rachel Perupski getting her 5th start of the year. Missed the first game of the season, but since then she has worked her way nicely back into this lineup, contributing admirably in this one. Knocks down the free throw, and it's a 43-34 lead for the number 3 nationally ranked George Fox Bruins. Here's the low dump off, and Justine Benner once again creating for teammates.
Yeah, I tell you, if you don't have a good press, a really good press, maybe it's not the best idea to throw it against somebody who does have a good press, because what does your team see in practice on a daily basis? The good press.
Here's Schultz. They do a good job of breaking George Fox's press eventually. Here's Zimmerman challenging, tough shot with the runner against 2 Bruins in her vicinity. Rebound taken away by Blizzard. Looking ahead for numbers. Ahead it goes to Nalawai, and she'll pull back as she waits for Jamison to unfold on the block. There goes the entry pass. Here's the double team. They triangle it around. They'll try it a second time to Jamison, who gets jostled free, and there will be a foul coming on the second re-entry.
Yep, and that's going to go against Zimmerman. So Zimmerman's going to pick up number 4. And although she was not quite as effective here in her brief stint starting the third quarter, you presume she's going to take a seat here shortly.
Quick inbound pass, and Jamison is unloading early in this second half for the Bruins. She's made her mark defensively, and George Fox is trying to initiate her as a light touch foul comes from behind. Not a smart decision by Kimberly Frost, as she was trying to add extra pressure and just rode a little too much body there of Zimmerman.
Yep, and Zimmerman will go to the bench. As we mentioned, she picked up foul number 4 a moment ago. She's going to be replaced by Shandy Morse, who has 3 fouls by herself. So it is it's a lot of foul trouble, and going to be a lot of lineup shuffling now for the rest of the game for the Royals.
There's a good ball handling matchup one-on-one between Kimberly Frost and Sydney Schultz. Outside to Miller. Miller trying to fend off the arms of Nalawai. Scoops it inside. O'Toole breaks loose, challenging Caitlin Jamison. Porupski on the putback, and it rolls around no good. Morse a third chance, and finally a jump ball after all that said and done. Still it will be Bethel ball.
I thought, in all honesty, Porupski had a little bit of contact coming over the back to get that rebound. Got bailed out. I know Dave disagrees with me, but she's got her arms like draped over the defender.
I think the argument could be made that, at least from a certain angle, she went straight up enough and didn't really swing down the arms. A good modicum of physicality in this game, nonetheless, between both teams. Another, I think this is the fifth chance opportunity on this possession, and finally Bethel knocks it down. O'Toole from the top of the elbow. It's a 47-36 George Fox lead. Bethel not going away, trying to keep George Fox at bay. McDevitt faces, square, stuffed from behind. Ferocious rejection by Porupski, and then Nalawai nearly robbed a guard in the backcourt. That was O'Toole, and almost fouled O'Toole in the process. She did foul her, nearly forced the travel. O'Toole asking for the foul, which she now will receive.
I think Porupski, that would be blocked shot number 3. You go back to this possession here at the other end. George Fox, just a disastrous possession. How many chances can you give Bethel, especially when you've had such success rebounding here so far this afternoon?
And George Fox, who for most of this game has won the rebounding battle, that trip alone, that may have evened things up.
Pretty close. It was a 4 rebound differential when the half started.
Another collision down low. It'll be a foul coming up against George Fox as Nalawai went flying.
Oh, that is 5 team fouls against George Fox already.
Reminiscent of the first quarter when Bethel hit the double bonus at the 5.5-minute mark. Morse's first free throw rolls around and eventually falls. Once again, a 10-point lead for George Fox at the 5:29 mark of this third quarter. And George Fox now the team that's getting to the free throw line with regularity. They're 20 for 28 from the charity stripe. Bethel efficiently 13 for 18. Make it probably now 15 for 20.
Yep, Morse is 3 for 4 from the line on the afternoon. Pretty good because she came into the weekend just a 64% foul shooter.
Frost setting up the offense for George Fox. Her junior guard counterpart, Casey Creech, is checked back in. She has the ball right now amidst the zone defense of Bethel indoors. Creech on the return. Down low to Benner. Not the spot she wants to live. Up top, Frost. Eyes up for 3 with 4 on the shot clock. Rimming in and out. McDevitt fighting for the offensive rebound that she eventually corrals. We're going to have a loose ball foul against Morse of Bethel. And that Morse will be...
Yeah, that'll be number 4. So, again, more lineup shuffling. Already having to put Zimmerman back on the bench. Now likely to have to put Morse on the bench, and I guess we'll probably see Hannah Johnson at some point here soon, too.
Creech steps into a 3. If you attended this game to see three-point shooting, you'll be sadly disappointed. Bethel now shooting 1 for 5 from distance in this game. After that miss for the Bruins, they are down to 1 for 13 from the three-point line. George Fox was not accurate from outside yesterday, shooting just 6 for 23 from the three-point land against Carthage.
Bethel going to go a little smaller here, and with Morse heading off because of the 4th foul, Angie Kirchhoff comes into the game.
O'Toole trying to whip it left. Frost, backcourt steal, back to Nalawai, up and in. A press working to perfection on George Fox's possession there. Bethel never got started. This time they whip it across. Creech ripping through, and nearly got another one there.
Yeah, and you could see there Kirchhoff giving directions like, we can't be throwing those long passes. They take too long to develop. It's very easy for George Fox's secondary, for lack of a better term, right, to come over and knock those balls away or intercept them.
At times it's felt like, dare I say this one, the legion of George Fox's boom on some of these plays. Newell working all the way, takes it up. It will not count. They said the foul came first. Strong driver. Are they going to give her the points? Looks like it was in continuation, but it depends when the whistle was blown.
Yeah, initially the official actually signaled 1-1, of course, but that's not a thing.
I don't know what that is in this sport.
Basketball anymore, so it is a 2-shot non-shooting foul.
This third quarter's taken a mainly defensive tone. George Fox leading Bethel 49-38 after leading 41-38 at the half. Kirchhoff quickly going to come back in.
41-31 at the half.
What did I say?
41-38, which would have been an awesome first
half.
half.
That would have been top-notch stuff. And it's an 0 for 2 trip that time down the floor for Newell.
And she shoots 70%, but sometimes it's tough to shoot free throws, especially in that open end of the building, if you're not accustomed to having a shooting background 90 feet behind you.
The first time George Fox tries the backdoor thread this half. It worked often in the first half against Bethel, and it'll send Sammy Nalloway to the foul line. Both teams in the double bonus with that foul against Bethel. That's their 5th. Nalloway stepping to the line for the Bruins. First is right through for the Bruins' second leading scorer at about 14 points per contest. Justine Benner entered the weekend leading the Bruins in scoring at 14.5 points per game. Nalloway having an efficient day everywhere besides the three-point line, but the Bruins as a whole trying to figure things out from out deep. Second free throw, not going to stay down. Here comes Newell ahead, trying to rush through. Then came Nalloway. Newell had her hand on the basketball.
I admire the hustle by Nalloway. Missed the free throw, and I'll let you talk here for a second as O'Toole hits the layup. Okay, she missed the free throw. Then she came out, almost got the rebound out on the elbow, and then she ran all the way to the other end of the floor and almost knocked the ball away.
Here's the inside zip over to Benner, outside Creech. You look at Nalloway and see a couple plays. You want to chronicle her as a hustler, but she does so much more beyond that. She's become a key scorer for the Bruins in 2016 as Creech swoops inside and scores for the Bruins. And defensively, she is a lockdown defender. This was such a great defensive group of wings in 2016 as Bethel breaks the press for a rare time in this third quarter. Stepping through as Miller safely gets away, frees herself for her jumper from 15 feet out, misses, blizzard underneath. They'll try to tie her up, and O'Toole is successful in doing so.
Well, she has to make up for her mistake on the other end, in all honesty. Just a lack of attentiveness on the missed shot. Completely missed any opportunity to rebound. She just stood there, let Benner get the offensive rebound back at the other end.
Kelly Zimmerman and Hannah Johnson, the 6'1 freshman center out of Duluth, have checked back in.
So remember, Zimmerman's got 4 fouls and playing here in the third quarter.
3:35 and counting in this third frame. Blizzard, left side swing to Nalloway, and just like that, George Fox clears the press in 2 efficient passes. Nalloway left side for Blizzard, in deep to Benner. Quick ball movement, setting up Creech outside for a 3-point shot. George Fox now down to 1 for 14 from three-point land. Inside goes Newell looking for contact, and she couldn't finish off the layup. Blizzard clears it safely for the Bruins.
Nor should she have tried to finish off a 1-on-3 fast break, in all honesty, even though she had just a minimal, like a quarter-step advantage.
Inside the foul drawn, Benner battling with Hannah Johnson. Right back to the free throw line, heads George Fox, and for Hannah Johnson, that's just her first foul of the day, seemingly the only Bethel Royal besides Molly O'Toole, her counterpart in the starting lineup, that are not saddled with major foul trouble. Benner on target that time, now 8 for 12. She has really sharpened up from the foul line in this second half.
I mean, Johnson only played 6 minutes in the first half, so it's hard to rack up a ton of fouls. That they need her to, relieve the people who have racked up the ton of fouls.
Johnson strong rebound there and clears it left side quickly to Newell, and in comes Creech from behind to send her flying. 2:48 to go. And so we were talking about the high propensity for fouls in the first half. Despite all the fouls and despite all the trips to the foul line, we saw a relatively good flow in this third quarter. A little tougher to make that argument.
Yeah, it's definitely bogged down a little bit here, but it continues to be a physical game, and you would think that Bethel has the opportunity to be more physical, right? They have more potential energy to pull out the physics textbook, right? But it's not really working out for them. George Fox's speed and their rebounding, even though that edge has waned a little bit, has kind of carried them here so far.
What was that term you just brought up? The
potential energy.
Potential energy, inelastic collisions. I feel like I'm back in Mr. Drakowski's 11th grade physics class all of a sudden, grinding and stressing out about my upcoming AP test.
See,
glad those days are behind me.
My high school senior daughter is all stressed out about her AP physics classes. I'm never going to use this. Like, I just used it right now, but I'm 43
I'm
years old.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree. I'm going to have to go ahead and disagree with that.
Do you think she won't use it, or you think I didn't use it correctly?
I think everybody should be capable of knowing all about thermodynamics and the wonderful magic that it entails. But back to the basketball game at hand, 2:34. George Fox leading Bethel 53-42 in this third quarter. And finally, Anjane Toragano knocks down just the second three-pointer of the game for the Bruins. That gives them a little more breathing room as the lead is back to 14. Miller handles, finds Johnson cutting late. And a foul against George Fox at the mid-range, it appears.
Yeah, not particularly enamored with the call is Creech, but she was in the vicinity and there was contact, so there's that.
That one more of a elastic collision, I think. I don't know. I should probably stay in my lane here.
What'd you get your degree in?
Marketing and economics.
Spanish for international service here.
That's good stuff.
But neither of it is a hard science.
Hashtag YD3.
That's right.
The zip ahead in the backcourt to Torregano, who frees space for Blizzard, and the guards work together to clear the press with relative ease. Frost seeking action inside, over to Blizzard, and Torregano just threw that one away as Johnson stepped through and shrouded off who she was guarding. Kirchhoff up high. George Fox formulating a zone here. Looks like some 1-3-1 setups as Jamison mucked up the action there, if you will.
Yeah, Zimmerman driving the basket, looking to dish off underneath for Johnson. Johnson just didn't finish her path to the basket and ended up going out of bounds. Yeah, tried to reach around the defender. So, indeed, as Justin said, really mucking up the play right there. Nalawai's
back in for the Bruins. 4 starters on the floor for George Fox alongside Torregano, the 1 junior transfer this year on the team. Nalawai revolving it left for Torregano. They're going to try the backdoor cut this time from left to right. Benner regathers it and puts it in relatively unabated after the shot fake.
That was nearly an alley-oop there. She just didn't quite have a handle on the basketball. Wisely came down, went back up, and finished for 2.
Kirchhoff carefully maintaining the dribble, gives it ahead to Zimmerman, who broke loose and finishes off the play. George Fox leading Bethel 58-46 as we close in on the 1-minute mark of this third quarter.
I tell you, even if Bethel doesn't come back and win this game, they have to be heartened by the way that Callie Zimmerman has played here today, because they're going to need her contribution and for her to be at full strength when they get back into the MIAC schedule next week.
Despite this grueling challenge that George Fox has presented tonight, as they retry another backdoor pass over to Justine Benner, who takes a little extra time to get off the floor here and took a hard bump. But this game for Bethel certainly is going to translate and probably pay off some sort of dividends. You get challenged by a top 10 team in George Fox, and that should give you a lot of experience and expectation going into this 2015 season. And there are high hopes for Bethel. The coaching poll in the preseason voted this Bethel Ryoals team with the most returners, notable performers to finish first place in the upcoming conference season.
Yeah, and they obviously, of course, have struggled a little bit, right? They started 2-2, but again, Zimmerman hasn't been healthy. Porupski hasn't been healthy, and so they've had some to fill some holes in the lineup. And they've got a good 14 games of conference schedule left, and then conference tournament time coming up in February.
And if you're going to have the discombobulation and the struggles, it's always better to deal with that in November and December rather than February and March. Another backcourt steal, this time by Nalawai. Frost missed on the first attempt, got back her own miss, and finally Bethel, well, maybe they'll be able to terminate the possession, but they still haven't won the battle of field position on this play. Eventually some breathing room here as the last touch is by George Fox, and everyone can stretch out the floor.
No, they do have. They have seemed to have a lot of turnovers deep in their own end. Below the 28-foot line, the wrong 28-foot line.
33 and a half seconds remaining in this third quarter. George Fox ahead by 13. Bethel will inbound. O'Toole from the deep right side corner on the near side. Stepping through over to Miller. Miller shovels it left for Kirchhoff. And Bethel moving it with more urgency this time, but they couldn't clear it in 10 seconds. It's the first 10-second violation for George Fox. High fives aplenty, as everyone very proud of that defensive stalwart stand.
Right, because the first 3 or 4 seconds of that 10-second clock ran off in that previous attempt at a possession where Bethel couldn't quite maintain control of the basketball, and those 10 seconds do not restart in women's basketball.
And I'm not sure if Bethel was aware of that, given the way they were, the level of urgency with which they were moving the ball up the floor. 13 seconds and ticking. George Fox waiting for the final shot of this quarter. Benner, left side across to Nalawai. Entry to Jamison, who's reported back in. Good strip and rip through by O'Toole. Jamison trying to pay her back, and a collision right at midcourt. Frost will be called for the block. And for Kimberly Frost, that's going to be foul number 4 for the starting point guard of George Fox. Not a good way to close out the final possession of the quarter for the Bruins.
No, and I think just kind of caught in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Not intending to necessarily commit a foul, maybe intending to slow O'Toole's progress because you got just 5 seconds to bring the ball up the floor. You want to make it difficult for them to do so.
O'Toole trying to whittle away a little bit more as they prepare for the final 10. First one up and in for Bethel. Free throw laden game for both these squads. Bethel now 20 for 27 from the line. George Fox shooting 23 of 34 from the foul line. 2 seconds to go, and the second free throw is right through the net. Bethel some time to unveil the press. Benner over to Blizzard. One pass to Torregano. Won't get it off in time, but a neat premise nonetheless. 30 minutes in the book, 1 quarter to go. George Fox trying to finish the job against Bethel, and Bethel looking for that one final rush. We'll be back here for the final stanza next on D3Hoops.com. Back here let's try that again. Back here for the fourth quarter. George Fox leading Bethel 59-48. Justin Sweeney trying to overcome some stuttering issues right now alongside Pat Coleman. Bethel trying to stage the upset of the number 3 nationally ranked and still undefeated at 10-0. George Fox Bruins. Bethel 5-4 after defeating Millsaps on Sunday afternoon. Looking for what would be a sensational upset this afternoon. Zimmerman on the left-handed drive right through the lane, up and in, and Bethel again has got this thing down to single digits.
Remember, Zimmerman has 4 fouls, Newell has 4 fouls, Morris has 4 fouls for Bethel. For George Fox, Kim Frost has 4, and they're 4 players with 3. And that's, I'm sure, partially why Bethel's gone zone here the last few possessions.
George Fox, their first offensive possession of this fourth quarter, and Benner goes to work again, gets it +1, and Benner having a day both from the floor as well as the foul line for George Fox. Back to an 11-point lead at 61-50.
In the third quarter, Bethel 3 of 13 from the floor, 0 for 1 from downtown, but 11 of 14 at the foul line. They lost the quarter by a point as Benner finishes the three-point play. On the other side, George Fox, 6 of 17 from the floor, 1 for 6 from downtown, and 5 for 8 from the foul line in the third quarter.
And Bethel can't be pleased with how often they've sent George Fox, who is not a good free throw shooting team, to the line so often. George Fox coming into this game shooting just 63% from the field on the day. After 3 quarters of gameplay, George Fox shooting 68% from the foul line. Long three-pointer up, no good for Bethel, and George Fox making easy work on that defensive possession for themselves. Torregano keeps it, setting up Nalawai all alone. She's 0 for 3 from three-point range on this night, so she'll continue to facilitate instead outside. Torregano unshy about teeing off from three-point range, and she knocks down her second of the second half, stretching the George Fox lead back to 15, equaling their largest lead of the night. Zimmerman acting quickly down the lane. Beautiful setup on the left side. Block for Rachel Porupski. Great diamond dish by the freshman Zimmerman.
We saw a lot of that in the game on Sunday. Not with Zimmerman, but with Bethel able to finish with both O'Toole and Porupski on the low blocks at the end of breaks.
Bad foul by Justine Benner, who reached out, was combating for the rebound. I should specify or correct Kelly Zimmerman, a junior, not a freshman. The 5'9" forward out of Champlin, Minnesota. Is that Champlin or Champlin?
Nope, it's Champlin.
All right, good on the first try. Zimmerman in her third game this season for Bethel, as we look at some bookkeeping, perhaps.
Bookkeeping.
Glad that's not my job.
It's been kind of an adventure this week.
Glad it's our job to critique the bookkeeping on the other end of the floor.
There you go.
8:25 and counting. George Fox leading Bethel 65-52. Zimmerman sweeping it left, and this time Bethel a great job of breaking down the press, and they did it rather quickly.
Yeah, much better job of just placement of people, but then turn the ball over in the front court.
It's a literal full court press. George Fox couldn't force the steal in the back court, but they did instead in the front court that time. Nalawai suffers the firm rejection, and here comes Schultz. Oh, crafty behind the back dribble, keeps it all the way, but below the runner, O'Toole is there, and she can't finish off the play. Great opportunities on the last two possessions for the Bethel Royals, but coming away scoreless. Jameson walked, and the Royals will try to make amends this time down.
Yeah, you hit it exactly, Justin. Great chances for Bethel in the offensive end. First of all, the nice behind the back pass or behind the back dribble to get away from the relentless defense of Sammy Nalawai, but couldn't finish with the shot. O'Toole couldn't make the putback work, but they managed to get a break when Jameson traveled here in the other end of the floor, and Bethel's got an opportunity again.
Well, it's taken over a half hour of game time, but it seems like Sydney Schultz is finally getting acclimated to the way and speed and tempo that Sammy Nalawai defends her with, as Bethel missed on the first try, but Hannah Johnson's there on the putback, and she just simply switched direction on Nalawai for the gorgeous-looking behind-the-back dribble. Blizzard setting it up, now gives it over to Torregano, who is very capable of working the point guard position for George Fox. What a luxury to have for the Bruins. In down low to McDivitt, back to Creech. Bruins remaining patient as the shot clock ticks down to 9. Blizzard handles the indoor lob outside to Nalawai on the drive. Across to Torregano, she must act quickly now. Releases with 3 on the shot clock, gets it on Janae Torregano. She lit up last night in the fourth quarter against Carthage, and she's knocked down her second consecutive 3 in this fourth quarter tonight, but the Bruins slow to recover the other way, and there's Johnson again, automatic on the block.
Well, yeah, the threes are beginning to come for George Fox. They just have to get back in the other end because Bethel is not going to stop pushing the ball up the floor, especially when they have an opportunity to not face that press.
Well, it was a defensive struggle in that third quarter, and in this fourth quarter, both teams really trading baskets right now, and Bethel, that's going to be trouble for them, and now more trouble unfolding as it was Torregano who unleashed 2 3-pointers, and now Casey Creech joins in the action. Here comes Bethel, breaking the press quickly the other way. The dump off late from Newell indoors to Perupski, make it Johnson, and she can't finish off the play. Here come the Bruins. They want a track and field meet this one perhaps, and now Nalawai will slow things down at least momentarily.
Yeah, and you should, up by 15, take a couple of passes, try to run your offense. Transition's been working really well for him in the fourth quarter, though.
Oh, Creech wants another one right down the pipe. 6:03, and the Bruins' three-point shooting ice cold as it is outside in Vegas over the last couple of nights has torched on fire in this fourth quarter. They have knocked down 4 3-pointers in this fourth quarter after knocking down just one in the first 3, and it is John Herbrechts-Meyer who needs to stop the bleeding right now. He'll call for time with 6:01 to go in this game. George Fox, just like that, has its largest lead of the night. Back here at the South Point Resort Arena, 6:01 to go, and before we get back into the action, Pat, some update on some scores in women's basketball around the top 25.
There we go. At the end of the third quarter, Wartburg leading UW Oshkosh 46-38. That's a key game. Remember earlier on in the afternoon, also at that same tournament, Wheaton of Illinois and St. Thomas took the floor, and Wheaton came away with the win there, sending St. Thomas to their second consecutive defeat. So that's a really good, interesting tournament in Waverly, Iowa.
And a huge win for Wheaton, who was in the top 10 for much of the start of the season before suffering a couple of losses, or one loss rather, and they're right back into the top 10 picture after that decisive victory against St. Thomas. 5:46 remaining in the fourth quarter of this one, and George Fox all of a sudden has caught major fire from the three-point line.
Yeah, it's been an impressive fourth quarter here, and Bethel maybe a little bit late taking that timeout. George Fox out to its biggest lead of the game, needed to figure out a way to stop the bleeding a little bit earlier.
5:41 to go. Royals looking for some cohesive offense down low. 2 posts, not established high. Ball fumbled and last touched by Torregano of the Bruins. Bruins opened up this game shooting 2 for 15 from three-point range. Since then, in this quarter, they are 4 for 4 from deep, and it has given them this 18-point cushion. Tool fall-away is good, making it a 74-58 lead in favor of George Fox. Bruins looking to finish off their non-conference portion of their schedule strong, aiming for an 11-0 start to this season before beginning the rest of their Northwest Conference schedule. They had 2 games under the books before the New Year's, taking care of Puget Sound easily, and then fending off Pacific in Forest Grove by 11. And this is going to be a rough and tumble season, as Whitman with a huge win as well down in Nashville in a non-conference affair against annual almost NESCAC powerhouse in the Williams Eafs.
Annual almost NESCAC powerhouse. I'm not sure how many hyphens that has.
Well, I think of the NESCAC, there's 10 teams all grappling with one another, and therefore, because of the near parity, you have that almost designation.
There's 11 now.
Oh, 11. Who am I missing?
Hamilton or Connecticut College.
There we.
Generally, I don't know who you have. So
right. Well,
but those are the ones that I sometimes forget about.
And Gordon Mann, a line to our left, will never let us forget about Trinity, of course, and they're standing in the swing of things. Foul down low against Bethel.
Which Trinity?
Trinity of Connecticut. Am I mistaken?
That one. No.
That's a joke. That's a barb. How slow am I to catch on?
Yeah.
We were hoping it'd be a little longer than 3 games before one of us started feeling punchy, I think.
Just wait 3 more games after this.
And we're going to have some great ones after this. Coming up at 4 p.m., it'll be a men's matchup between Ramapo and St. Vincent. Ramapo with an impressive performance last night. Benner swinging across to Nalawai, and then a great showdown in the nightcap as Jamison misses long on the turnaround shot, but there is Casey Creech keeping things alive for the Bruins. Shot clock didn't reset, and that'll be shot clock violation against George Fox. And we're going to hopefully have a lot of viewership tonight, because that Calvin and number 2 Whitworth men's showdown is one you do not want to be out of the building or away from your computer for.
Yeah, and we always seem to have some really entertaining games when we have those 11 p.m. Eastern tip-offs. So we hope you have midnight madness here with D3Hoops.com tonight.
But only a very early 8 p.m. on the West Coast. Still time to go out and hit up the Shake Shack if you're here in Las Vegas.
Shake Shack, baby. One thing, though, that going back to the timeout for a second, it was a little bit late for Bethel, but it did stem the momentum, right? George Fox was 4 for 4 from three-point range, had the momentum, was feeling it, and things have not continued to develop. George Fox hasn't scored since.
And just like that, there's only 4 minutes and a shade over that left in this game. Offensive rebound put back by Zimmerman, gets it and the foul against Caitlin Jamison.
I tell you, Callie Zimmerman has just been fantastic. 19 points now off the bench for the Royals, and this is a spark that they sorely need, if not today. Well, they need it today, but they continue to need it for the rest of the season as well.
Well, Bethel, they're 4 minutes and 2 seconds, barring a major comeback here. There is still time, down by 13, trying to stave off falling back to 5-5. But regardless of the result, I think there's a new infusion of fresh air from Callie Zimmerman, just her 3rd game back, and I still feel like there's going to be a good dose of momentum for Bethel as they enter MIAC play.
Let's look at the women's top 25 scoreboard. Second-ranked Amherst defeated Salisbury by the score of 59-35. Again, at the end of the third, Wartburg with the lead on 5th-ranked Oshkosh, 46-38. Hope up big on Mount Ida at the half. And that is those are the games that are in progress. Earlier, we mentioned Whitman knocked off 16th-ranked Williams, 70-56. Tufts all over Baruch. Trinity of Texas defeated LeTourneau, and now Wartburg, that game has gone final, and they have knocked off the Titans of Wisconsin Oshkosh 67-56.
And that is Oshkosh's first loss of the season for the number 5 team, so we could perhaps expect some more shifting around in the D3 hoops and WBCA top 10 polls and beyond. Nalawai back in action here, shifts it right side to Torregano. Popping up is Benner, who has had a wonderful weekend for George Fox here in Las Vegas. A double-double last night in the victory against Carthage, and beginning to pile up points again here tonight. 19 points, the leading scorer in this game for the Bruins. Long three is good for Nate Torregano. Her third, she's knocked down in this quarter alone, and the Bruins ahead by 16 once again with 3:30 to go, and Nalawai is piling things on defensively, and now the clock becomes their ally.
We've already been talking about Hardware, who's going to get the most outstanding player at this tournament. Even though the tournament's not over, there's only one women's game left after this, and who are going to be the all-tournament selections for each of the two teams playing here.
Torregano, slow down.
Some of those things might have to change here based on the final 10 minutes of play.
Just two great fourth quarters, and of course we had that interesting bookkeeping issue yesterday as Miller unleashes the three. That misses long. Here's Torregano taking over this game late. Throws left side ahead to Nalawai, and that's going to be an offensive foul. Very late after Torregano had delivered the pass. I think Nalawai had already caught it by the time the late collision had occurred as her momentum continued into Abby Miller.
Yeah, she just kind of flicked the pass away, but didn't stop her momentum or anything, and committed the foul, no longer having had the basketball.
But it was yesterday when everyone thought Torregano had fouled out of the game. Midway through the third quarter, they went back to the books and determined it was only her fourth foul, so she had to chuckle instead of sorrow. Sat on the bench for about 3 minutes after the change was made, a foul right here against Caitlin Jamison. Came back in for the fourth quarter and has scored 9 in that final quarter to really put the game to rest against Carthage.
It's Callie Zimmerman going back to the line, and she has continued to be very aggressive, especially on the offensive end, even though she's been playing with 4 fouls this entire quarter.
And what makes her so dynamic is she really stretches the floor, but at the same time, she's not afraid to battle and make hay in the post as well. First free throw rolls around and is good. And that plays off very nicely for players like O'Toole and Rachel Porepski, who mainly live down on the blocks, and when you want to put all three of them on the floor, as we're seeing right now, that should give Bethel in most situations against most opponents a decisive size advantage. We're down to 2:36 in this fourth quarter. George Fox trying to finish off this defensive stand against Bethel, leading 79-63. Torregano's going to look for the home run pass to Sammy Nalawai in transition. Blew the layup, and here comes Schultz meandering the other way and peering in her periphery with Nalawai bearing down on her, and the Bruins settle into a 1-3-1 zone.
Kind of subtly, Herb Rixmeyer took Zimmerman out there after the offensive set, so on the defensive side, he didn't have to play her with 4 fouls.
O'Toole tries to force up the short-range shot, unfriendly rim, but Porepski's there on the follow, and she'll be the latest Royal to head to the line.
Yeah, and Porepski, again, as we mentioned, it's been a bit of a struggle for her this season, but excellent free throw shooter, 80% coming into the week, 2 for 2 here so far this afternoon as well.
Porepski at the line. And can't get the friendly bounce. Bethel not having as much success from the foul line in this second half as they did in the first half, as they found their way to the bonus time and time again in that first quarter. But since then, George Fox has turned the tables in the free throw shooting category against Bethel. As we look at the overall stats from the charity stripe, George Fox now shooting 24 of 35 for 69%, about 6% better than their team percentage entering the weekend. Bethel, meanwhile, a more efficient 24 of 31, good for 77.5% from the free throw line.
Don't forget, coming up about 20 minutes or so after this game ends, we've still got 3 more games to come here today at the D3Hoops.com Classic. Coming up next, Ramapo versus Skidmore. I know that the nightcap is Whitworth versus Calvin. What's the game that's in between? It's all running together.
6 o'clock Pacific game, 9 p.m. Eastern for all of our interested parties back there. It will be Pacific Lutheran squaring off with University of Wisconsin at Stout.
That's right. UW Stout and Whitworth and Calvin all haven't played yet. We will be, this is game number 9. We'll have just those 3 teams will have to get all of their games in the final 6 games of the tournament.
Yeah, nothing better than an 8 p.m. Stout in the middle of winter.
In Wisconsin.
Exactly.
That is something they're very into.
2 minutes to go. Benner swinging it outside for Torregano.
It's really more of a lager kind of state, though.
Yeah, lager and cheese. We had that discussion earlier.
Lots of that.
Good steal here by Zimmerman. Blizzard trying to close down, ripped through, but too much body on the arm applied there, and it's going to be a foul against Nicole Blizzard. 1:45 left to go in this one. Bethel trailing by 15 against number 3 George Fox, 79-64. Both these teams the odds-on favorites to win their respective conferences, according to their peers. And tonight it is George Fox who has had the momentum, the upper hand, and late in this one, the three-point touch as well.
Well, and if Zimmerman, for whatever reason, didn't get enough free throw shooting practice while she was out and while she was hurt, she's getting a lot of it here.
Yeah, this has been magnificent rhythm and work for her. As we see Hannah Newell check back into the game for backcourt counterpart Sydney Schultz. Torregano maintaining that dribble in the backcourt. 100-second square left in this one. Kept it, nearly lost it once, got it back, and challenged Morse, heading all the way to the hoop, up and in. And we're seeing the offensive creativity from Anjane Torregano. Ahead comes Morse the other way, greeted by Blizzard. They try the entry pass, sharp lob inside, and O'Toole finishes off the play. That's a great move by Bethel. That play from beginning to end, they got into the front court relatively quick, and right from then they went to work.
Yeah, good look from Morse, threading the needle, finding O'Toole inside, and O'Toole finished.
Benner looking to duel down low, stopped in the interior, nowhere to go. The ball ends up fortuitously in the hands of Blizzard. They'll re-enter to Justine, and that's poked away by O'Toole, but she was called for the reach-in first with a minute flat to go. So George Fox, it appears here, unless a major rush of a miracle is performed in this final minute by Bethel to improve to 11-0 as they head into Northwest Conference play. Whitman looks like they will be serious challengers for the Northwest Conference crown here in 2016, and it should be another festive, hard-fought 7 weeks of Northwest Conference action.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. Sorry I can't attend, but I think just about by now every school in the Northwest Conference streams its games, so no excuses not to catch up with those ones.
Oh, you'll have Heartland Conference play to keep an eye on instead.
It should be a fun conference as Transylvania, Rose Holman, Franklin, and the rest of the gang all squaring off with one another through the next 2 months.
Oh, this would be a good quiz for you. Can you name all of the Heartland Conferences? So, just so you know,
man.
Justin is leaving the West Coast in a couple of days to become the sports information director at Transylvania University.
Good news for some, bad news for others. Maybe bad news for all.
It's a 10-team league? 9.
I want to say 10. I'm just getting to meet some of the SIDs, so we're still in the meet and greet mode.
Let's see. We got your Bluffton. We got your Defiance.
Franklin.
We got your Transylvania. We got your Franklin. We got your Rose Holman.
Mount St. Joseph.
Mount St. Joseph, who I tend to forget. Hanover.
Who we saw here last year, the men's team, John Miller bringing them out.
I started with Bluffton. Bluffton and Defiance, the ones I almost usually forget. Those are what I started with.
Meanwhile, Benner with a tremendous move.
Huh?
And she'll head to the line.
Earlham. Oh, if you can't beat them, Earlham. What's that? That's yeah, that's bad.
Gonna have to dispose of that one. I don't think I'm gonna use that as an icebreaker. We'll see Taven Headings check into the game here for George Fox, standing along the lane, and Michael Meek will unfurl the rest of his reserve unit here as we see freshman guard Sade Elliott in for the first time. McDivitt set to check back in. Haley Hutzler making her first appearance of the night. And a collection of starters remain on the floor for Bethel here in the final half minute of the ball game. Bethel will head back to the Minneapolis Metro with visions of MIAC success dancing around in their minds.
They're going to head back to the St. Paul Metro, by the way.
Oh, dear.
St. Paul people are kind of, justifiably.
Touchy about that?
Yeah.
And they got the Wild. Excel Energy Center.
That is
state-of-the-art facility.
Something like that.
Inbound pass, Bruins back into that full court press.
Anderson
advancing it.
Anderson is who we forgot. And Manchester. You didn't mention Manchester either.
Offensive rebound here. Morse throwing it back up, and a second try finally. Still can't get the roll on that rim.
For a bigger challenge now, we're going to tackle the GNAC and the Commonwealth Coast Conference.
Oh, dear. I got to go back
who
to
overlapped and switched a bunch of teams about 5 or 6 years ago, so I'm totally lost.
I'm going to need more monitors, more keyboards. Under 10 seconds to go in this one. Hannah Newell at the line.
We do hope you will come back and bring Transylvania with you to a future.
Yeah, we'll have to have a talk. I'm not going to try to broker any transactions here on the air, but I'll arrive in Lexington with some ideas. Don't you worry. A couple more substitutions on the Bethel side. We see Liz Libben checking in for the first time tonight, as well as Anna Munstertager out of Ogilvie, Minnesota. Second free throw is off. Johnson tries to save it. It's recovered by Maria Vavra, and they put it in. Maria Vavra with a late score here.
And they want the clock reset to 3.4 seconds.
Readjust the clock. And this should be a 13-point final in favor of George Fox.
Hannah Simpson, the last freshman off the bench to get an opportunity here today, comes in.
Bethel's going to end up putting up 71 against George Fox, who comes into this game holding its opponents to under 60 points per contest. But in the end, just too many turnovers to overcome for Bethel, and the three-point shooting and offensive efficiently by George Fox overwhelms Bethel late in this one. A solid weekend in Las Vegas for the George Fox Bruins, who take care of Bethel tonight, 84-71. George Fox improves to 11-0 on their season as they get ready for the final 14 of 16 games in the Northwest Conference schedule, and Bethel will head back home to the land of 10,000 lakes to prepare for a busy season of MIAC conference play.
Well, Justin, I can be honest with you. We saw a whole bunch of a wide variety of reasons why George Fox is successful, why they're the number 3 team in the country, right? Earlier in the game, you mentioned a big rebounding advantage early on. The press was working for them really well. They generated a bunch of turnovers. Now, eventually, Bethel, first they managed to wear into that rebounding advantage and kind of nullified that a little bit. Then later in the game, they began to take care of the basketball a little better. So what happens? Fourth quarter, George Fox comes out. They're completely different on offense. They find their range from three-pointer. Bang, 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 I believe.
Great Jim Lampley imitation, by the way.
Thank you. That's an NBA thing, right? I can't accept that. But 6 3-pointers in the fourth quarter alone to kind of ice this, or 5 in the fourth quarter alone to kind of ice this game away. Really impressive performance this weekend for George Fox.
George Fox, after beginning this game 1 for 14 from the three-point range, finishes off this game shooting 7 for 20, a very acceptable three-point shooting percentage for 35%. They got to the free throw line early and often, only shot 69.5 from the free throw line, but that still exceeds their average coming into the weekend. Bethel also got to give the Royals credit for taking much better care of the basketball than they did in the first half, where they had, I believe, 15 turnovers at the half. They condensed that to 22 total turnovers in the second half. But George Fox, you really saw the full court pressure playing to excellence tonight.
They did, and it wasn't until Bethel kind of figured out how to break it differently, right? They were making the same mistakes over and over, probably 5 or 6 times, trying to make the pass from the center of the floor out to the wings, from about the foul line out to the wings in front of the scorer's table, and that was not working for them any time at all. When they finally changed things up, things began to work a little bit better for them. If you're a Bethel fan and looking for some takeaway from this game, obviously you got to point at the performance of Callie Zimmerman off the bench. Played 23 minutes, scored 24 points.
Leading scorer in this game, as a matter of fact.
14 of 18 from the foul line. A really impressive performance, and it looks like she is ready to be at full strength, and they will need her in MIAC play.
Other couple notable stats in this game. George Fox finishes shooting 38% from the field, a sweltering 48% field goal percentage in the second half. Bethel 34% from the field for the game, just 1 for 8 from three-point range. George Fox an ice cold 1 for 9 and 1 for 14, I believe, through about the first 27 minutes from the three-point line in this game. They finished shooting 35%. Bethel came back to win that rebounding battle, as you mentioned, Pat, 48-45. Justine Benner led the way for George Fox, 6 for 13 from the field. A really strong second half for Benner, 10 for 15 from the foul line. She gets 2 back-to-back double-doubles. I got in and out on the mind, apparently, here in Las Vegas. A double-double yesterday against Carthage, 22-10 in this one against Bethel. Strong game defensively and offensively for Sammy Nalawai. 14 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. Nalawai giving the Bruins 38 minutes tonight. Kim Frost also with 4 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Got to credit Frost doing all the little things and still able to fill up the stat sheet in multiple categories. Casey Creech, a really good game off the bench for the junior for George Fox. 10 points, 2 for 5 from three-point land. And Anjane Torregano for what I believe is a career high, at least at George Fox, in scoring. 4 for 5 from three-point range, 6 for 8 from the field overall. 18 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals in 19 minutes of play. Other notable contributors on the Bethel side. Great game for Molly O'Toole. 7 for 16 from the field. A rebound short of a double-double, comprising 16 points, 9 rebounds, along with 2 steals. Rachel Porupski never really got going offensively in this game, though she did contribute in other areas. 5 points to go with 10 rebounds, 1 assist. And a lot of players off the bench for Bethel with 2 points each, those being Abby Miller, Angie Kirchhoff, Maria Vavra with that final bucket, and Hannah Johnson. Again, 2 really solid performances here in Las Vegas for the young reserve. 3 for 6 from the field, good for 7 points and 5 rebounds. That's just going to about wrap up action in this third game of 6 days. Any final thoughts, Pat Coleman? A lot of fun spending the last 2 hours with you.
Likewise, and I just have to say, if this is your last George Fox game, I hope you enjoyed it, man, because this is, I know, a beginning of a new era for you. I don't know how many George Fox basketball and sporting events you've covered, but now you're growing up, you're leaving the nest, you're going to go to the Midwest and become a Division III sports information director.
I feel like so many mommies and daddies right now are empowering me with metaphorical wings to take off, and who knows where I may land or crash. But thank you for the nice words, Pat. It has been a pleasure chronicling this game, and yes, a strong performance by George Fox. They certainly look primed for a great run. And this Bethel team, they showed off a lot of firepower as well, and they should go into the MIAC schedule with a whole lot of momentum as well. That's going to do it for this women's matchup. Stay tuned. We'll be back in about 15 minutes as Dave McHugh and I will bring you the action as the men's action now begins for the final 3 games of this 6-game day at day 3 of the D3Hoops.com Classic. Next up on the docket, it's Ramapo versus St. Vincent on D3Hoops.com.